The mall was loud that afternoon. Shoppers moved between bright storefronts. Children laughed near the ice cream stand, and soft music echoed through the large glass atrium. To everyone around her, it looked like an ordinary Saturday. But for Elena Carter, nothing about the day felt ordinary. She had learned a long time ago that peace could disappear in seconds. Elena walked slowly past the clothing stores, her hand wrapped around a small shopping bag. Her dark hair fell over her shoulders, partially hiding the faint scar near her collarbone, a reminder of a life she had tried very hard to leave behind. 2 years ago, she escaped her marriage. Her ex-husband, Ryan Holt, had once seemed charming, confident, even protective, but behind closed doors, he was something else entirely: controlling, violent, dangerous. For 6 years, Elena lived in fear of the man she had once loved, the shouting, the broken dishes, the bruises she learned to hide under long sleeves. And the night he finally crossed a line she knew she could never forgive. That was the night she ran. The divorce had been ugly. Ryan had threatened her more than once, promising she would regret humiliating him. But after the court order and months of silence, Elena started believing something hopeful. Maybe he had finally moved on. Maybe she was free. That illusion lasted exactly 3 seconds, because the moment she stepped out of the bookstore, she heard a voice behind her that instantly froze her blood, a voice she knew too well. Well, look who finally decided to show her face. Elena stopped walking. Slowly, she turned around, and there he was, Ryan Holt, standing just a few feet away. His expression was the same one she remembered from the worst nights of their marriage, a twisted smile that never reached his eyes. Her heart began pounding. "What are you doing here?" she asked quietly. Ryan stepped closer. "I could ask you the same thing." People continued walking around them, completely unaware of the tension building between the two. Elena tried to keep her voice calm. "You're not supposed to come near me." Ryan laughed. "Relax. It's a public place." Then his eyes darkened. "But I've been waiting to talk to you." Elena felt the old fear creeping back. "I have nothing to say to you." She tried to step past him. Ryan grabbed her wrist, hard. "Don't walk away when I'm talking to you." Several shoppers glanced briefly at the scene, but quickly looked away, assuming it was just another couple arguing. Elena's voice trembled. "Let go." Ryan leaned closer, his breath hot and angry. "You think you ruined my life and just walk around like nothing happened?" "I didn't ruin anything," she said quietly. "You did that yourself." That sentence snapped something inside him. In one sudden movement, Ryan's hand shot up and grabbed Elena by the throat. Her back slammed lightly against the wall beside the bookstore. Gasps came from a few nearby shoppers, but Ryan barely noticed. His fingers tightened. "You think you're better than me now?" he hissed. Elena struggled to breathe. People were starting to stare now. Phones were coming out, but Ryan was too angry to care. "After everything I gave you," he snarled, "you run away like I'm the villain?" Elena's vision blurred slightly. Her hands gripped his wrists, trying to push him away. Then suddenly, a calm male voice spoke behind Ryan, a voice so quiet it somehow cut through the noise of the entire mall. "Take your hands off her." Ryan froze. Slowly, he turned his head. Standing a few feet away was a tall man in a dark suit, sharp jawline, cold, unreadable eyes, and beside him stood 2 men who looked even more dangerous. Ryan frowned. "Who the hell are you?" The man in the suit didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at Elena, His voice softened slightly. "Are you hurt?" Elena shook her head weakly. Ryan scoffed. "Mind your business." The man's expression didn't change, but the air around him suddenly felt different, heavy, controlled, like a storm waiting to break. Ryan had no idea who he was talking to, and he definitely didn't know one very important thing. The man standing in front of him was one of the most feared Mafia bosses in the entire city, and he had been waiting for Elena. For a moment, the entire corridor of the mall fell strangely quiet. Ryan was still gripping Elena's throat, but his attention had shifted. He stared at the man in the suit, tall, calm, completely unbothered by the scene unfolding in front of him. Ryan scoffed. "This doesn't concern you," he said sharply. The man didn't react to the insult. His dark eyes remained fixed on Elena, carefully assessing whether she was injured. Only then did he repeat himself. "Let her go." His voice was quiet, but something about it made several people nearby stop moving. It wasn't loud, it was controlled and dangerous. Ryan rolled his eyes. Or what? Behind the suited man stood two others, large, broad-shouldered men dressed in black. They hadn't spoken a single word since arriving, but the way they watched Ryan made it clear they were ready to move if necessary. Still, Ryan tightened his grip slightly, his ego pushing him forward. "This is between me and my ex-wife," he sneered. "Walk away." Elena could barely breathe. Her fingers clawed weakly at Ryan's wrist. The man in the suit finally shifted his attention to Ryan. Up close, his expression was colder than before. "You have 3 seconds." Ryan laughed loudly. "Or what? You'll call mall security?" A few nervous laughs came from distant shoppers who were watching but still unsure what was happening. But the suited man didn't laugh. Instead, he took one slow step forward, and suddenly, the two men behind him moved as well. Not aggressively, just enough to show they were no longer standing still. Ryan's smile faltered slightly. "Look," he muttered, trying to regain control of the situation. "This isn't your problem." The man tilted his head slightly. "Actually," he said calmly, "it is." Then something happened that Ryan didn't expect. Elena spoke. Her voice was weak but clear. "Victor." Ryan froze. Slowly, he looked at the man again. "Victor." The man nodded slightly toward Elena. "I'm here." Ryan frowned. "Oh, I see," he said mockingly. "So this is your new boyfriend?" Elena didn't answer, but the suited man did, and his answer made the tension in the air grow even heavier. "No." His voice remained calm. "I'm her brother." Ryan blinked. Then he laughed. "Her brother? That's funny. Elena never mentioned having a brother." Victor's expression didn't change. "That's because you never listened to anything she said." Ryan's smile faded. Something about the man's presence was beginning to make him uncomfortable, but his pride pushed him forward again. "Brother or not," Ryan said, squeezing Elena's throat again, "this doesn't concern you." Victor's eyes finally hardened. "Release her." Ryan leaned closer to Elena, ignoring him. "You told him about our marriage?" Ryan whispered cruelly. "Did you tell him how you begged me to stay?" Elena shook her head weakly. Ryan smirked. "You always liked embarrassing yourself." Victor's patience ended right there. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't make a dramatic move. He simply nodded once, and in the next second, one of the men behind him moved faster than Ryan could react. Ryan's wrist was twisted violently away from Elena's throat. His body slammed into the wall. A shocked gasp echoed through the mall. Ryan barely had time to process what happened before his arm was pinned behind his back. "Elena," Victor said calmly. She stumbled forward, coughing. Victor gently steadied her. "Breathe." Ryan struggled angrily against the grip holding him. "What the hell is this?" Victor looked down at him. For the first time, his calm expression showed something darker. "You just put your hands on someone who is under my protection." Ryan spat on the floor. "You think I'm scared of you?" Victor's gaze remained steady. "You should be." Ryan laughed again. "Why? Who do you think you are?" For a moment, Victor said nothing. Then he spoke a single sentence that made several nearby shoppers quietly step back. "I'm the reason people like you disappear." Ryan stared at him, and suddenly, he wasn't laughing anymore. Because at that exact moment, one of the men beside Victor leaned down and whispered something in Ryan's ear. Three words that made the color drain completely from Ryan's face, because those words revealed exactly who Victor really was, and Ryan instantly realized something terrifying. He hadn't just attacked his ex-wife in public, he had attacked the sister of one of the most powerful Mafia bosses in the city. Ryan's confidence disappeared instantly. One moment he had been shouting, struggling, acting like he owned the entire situation. The next moment, he looked like a man who had just realized he made a fatal mistake. The man holding his arm leaned close and whispered again. This time, Elena heard it too. "That's Victor Marino." The name hung in the air like a thunderclap. Even people nearby who didn't fully understand the situation seemed to sense something serious had just been revealed. Ryan's eyes widened. "Marino?" He looked back at Victor slowly, really looking this time. The tailored suit, the quiet confidence, the two men standing beside him who clearly weren't bodyguards hired from some security company. And suddenly the name clicked. Victor Marino. A name whispered in certain parts of the city. A name connected to businesses, nightclubs, luxury buildings, and darker things people didn't talk about openly. Ryan swallowed. "You're that Marino?" Victor didn't smile. He didn't confirm it either. He simply looked down at Elena. "Are you all right?" Elena nodded slowly, still catching her breath. "I'm okay." Ryan tried to pull his arm free again, but the grip holding him tightened. "Let go of me," he snapped. Victor finally looked back at him, cold, measured. "You had your hands around her throat," Victor said calmly. Ryan forced a laugh. "Oh, please. It was just an argument." Victor tilted his head slightly. "Is that what you call it?" Ryan's bravado returned for a moment. "She's my ex-wife." Victor's eyes darkened. "That doesn't give you permission to touch her." Ryan scoffed. "You think you're some kind of hero now?" Victor didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer. Ryan immediately noticed something terrifying. Victor wasn't angry, he was calm, too calm, and that was far more frightening. "You had 6 years with her," Victor said quietly. Ryan frowned. "What?" Victor's voice remained steady. 6 years to treat her like a human being." Ryan rolled his eyes. "Oh, here we go." But Victor continued. 6 years to prove you deserved her." Ryan laughed mockingly. "She told you all the sob stories, didn't she?" Elena clenched her fists but stayed silent. Victor didn't even look at her. His attention stayed on Ryan. "You know what the difference between you and me is?" Victor asked quietly. Ryan smirked. "What?" Victor leaned slightly closer. "I listen when someone says, 'Stop.'" Ryan's jaw tightened. "You think you scare me?" Victor didn't respond immediately. Instead, He looked around the mall. People were watching now. Phones were out. Security guards were approaching cautiously from the far end of the corridor. Victor sighed slightly. "Unfortunately for you," he said, "this is a public place." Ryan smiled again. "Yeah? So?" Victor's gaze sharpened. "So today, you're getting the polite version." Ryan's smile slowly faded. "Polite version?" Victor gave a small nod to the man holding Ryan. The man released him instantly. Ryan stumbled forward, confused. "What?" Victor adjusted his suit jacket calmly. "You're going to walk away." Ryan stared at him. "Or what?" Victor's eyes held his. "Or next time we meet, it won't be in a mall." Ryan opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out, because deep down, he understood exactly what Victor meant. Victor turned to Elena. "Let's go." She hesitated. Her eyes briefly met Ryan's. For the first time since their divorce, Ryan looked uncertain, almost afraid. Victor placed a protective hand on Elena's shoulder and guided her toward the exit. His men followed silently. Ryan stood there for several seconds, trying to regain his pride. Finally, he shouted after them, "This isn't over." Victor didn't even turn around, but one of his men did, and the look he gave Ryan made the message perfectly clear. If Ryan was smart, he would make sure it was over, because the next time Victor Marino got involved, Ryan might not walk away at all. The ride home was quiet. Elena sat in the back seat of Victor's black car, staring out the window as the city passed by. Her breathing had finally slowed, but her hands were still shaking slightly. Victor noticed. From the front seat, he glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "You should have told me sooner," he said calmly. Elena sighed. "And say what?" "Hi, Victor. I know we haven't spoken in 10 years, but my ex-husband might strangle me in a shopping mall one day." Victor didn't smile. His expression remained serious. "You know that's not what I mean." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them wasn't new. It had existed for years, ever since Elena made the decision to leave the Marino family behind. 10 years ago, she walked away from everything: the money, the power, the dangerous world Victor had built around himself. She wanted a normal life, a quiet one. That's when she met Ryan. Victor's jaw tightened slightly as he thought about it. He remembered the first time he met Ryan Holt. The man had smiled too much, talked too confidently. Victor didn't trust him for a second, but Elena had been stubborn. "I love him," she had said back then. Victor had warned her more than once, but she didn't listen. And eventually she stopped calling, stopped visiting, until today. Victor finally spoke again. "How long has he been hurting you?" Elena looked away. "It doesn't matter anymore." Victor's voice became firmer. "It matters to me." She stayed silent. Victor sighed quietly. "Let me guess," he said. "It started small." Elena's eyes filled with emotion. She didn't need to answer. Victor already knew. "I should have forced you to come back home," he muttered. "You don't get to control my life," Elena replied softly. Victor didn't argue, because she was right, but that didn't mean he had to forgive what Ryan had done. The car stopped in front of a large private building, one of Victor's penthouses, a place few people were allowed to enter. Victor stepped out first, then opened the door for Elena. "You're staying here tonight." Elena frowned. "Victor, that wasn't a suggestion." His voice was calm again, but final. She didn't argue, not this time, because deep down, she felt safer already. Inside the penthouse, The city lights stretched across the horizon through massive glass windows. Victor poured a glass of water and handed it to her. "Drink." Elena sat on the couch. "You didn't answer my question," she said quietly. Victor raised an eyebrow. "What question? Why were you at the mall today?" Victor leaned back slightly. For the first time, a small smile appeared on his face. "I wasn't there by accident." Elena frowned. "What do you mean?" Victor looked at her carefully. Then he said something that surprised her completely. "I've been looking for you for 3 weeks." Elena blinked. "What?" Victor continued. "Someone contacted me." "Who?" Victor walked to the window before answering. "A private investigator." Elena stood up slowly. "Why would someone hire a PI to find me?" Victor turned back toward her. "Because they were worried about you." Elena's heart started beating faster. "Who?" Victor paused, then said the last name she expected. "Ryan Holt." Elena froze. "That doesn't make sense." Victor nodded slowly. "I thought the same thing." He walked closer. "But the man who contacted the investigator wasn't Ryan." Elena frowned. "Then who?" Victor's voice lowered slightly. "Someone who wants Ryan dead." Silence filled the room. Elena's stomach tightened. "What are you talking about?" Victor looked directly into her eyes. "The man who hired that investigator believes Ryan has something very valuable." Elena shook her head. "He's broke." Victor nodded. "That's what everyone thinks." He stepped closer. "But apparently, Ryan stole something." Elena's voice dropped to a whisper. "From who?" Victor's answer came slowly. "From a man far more dangerous than Ryan." Elena's chest tightened. "And now that man is looking for him." Victor's eyes darkened. "And anyone connected to him." Elena suddenly understood something terrifying. "Which means—" Victor finished the sentence for her. "You." Elena stared at Victor in disbelief. "You're telling me someone dangerous is looking for Ryan, and that somehow involves me?" Victor nodded slowly. "Yes." She ran a hand through her hair, trying to process everything. "That's insane." Victor sat down across from her. 3 weeks ago, a man came to one of my businesses asking questions." "What kind of questions?" "About Ryan Holt." Elena frowned. "And?" Victor continued. "He believed Ryan stole something from his employer." "What?" Victor shook his head. "He didn't say." Elena laughed nervously. "This is ridiculous." Victor's eyes hardened slightly. "Elena." She stopped laughing. "When people start hiring investigators and offering money for information, it's never ridiculous." She swallowed. "How much money?" Victor answered calmly. $2 million. The number hung in the air. Elena sat down slowly. $2 million. Just to find Ryan? Victor nodded. "Yes." Her voice became smaller. "What did he steal?" Victor leaned forward slightly. "That's the problem. We don't know." Elena felt a growing knot in her stomach. "And if they can't find him?" Victor's voice became very quiet. "Then they start looking at the people closest to him." Elena suddenly remembered Ryan's behavior at the mall. The anger, the desperation, the way he looked like someone who hadn't slept. "What if Ryan didn't steal anything?" she whispered. Victor shook his head. "He definitely did." "How do you know?" Victor looked toward the window again. "Because the man searching for him is not someone who makes mistakes." Elena felt fear creeping into her chest. "Who is he?" Victor didn't answer immediately. Instead, he said something else. Something even more worrying. "Ryan didn't just steal money." Elena frowned. "What then?" Victor's voice lowered. "Information." She felt the room grow colder. "What kind of information?" Victor looked back at her. The kind that gets people killed. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. Victor's penthouse was silent, high above the city, with lights stretching across the skyline like stars trapped between buildings. Normally, the view was breathtaking. Tonight, it felt cold. Elena sat on the couch with a blanket around her shoulders, staring at the dark window. Ryan's face kept replaying in her mind, the anger, the desperation, the way his hands trembled when Victor's men restrained him in the mall. For years she had believed Ryan was simply cruel, violent, unpredictable. But today she saw something different, fear. And now Victor was telling her that Ryan had stolen something from one of the most dangerous men in Europe, something worth $2 million just to locate him. Her chest tightened. "Ryan, what did you do?" she whispered quietly. The clock on the wall read 12:14 a.m. Then the elevator doors opened. Victor stepped into the living room. Even at this hour he looked composed, wearing the same dark suit from earlier, though his tie was gone and the top button of his shirt was open. "Elena," he said calmly. She looked up. "You're still awake." "I couldn't sleep." Victor nodded like he expected that answer. He walked toward the bar table and poured himself a drink, then paused. "Come here." Elena stood slowly and walked over. Victor handed her a tablet. "Look at this." The screen showed security footage, a parking garage camera. Elena leaned closer, and then she saw him. Ryan. The timestamp showed it was recorded 3 nights ago. Ryan was standing beside a black car, looking around nervously. But he wasn't alone. Another man stepped into the camera frame. The moment Elena saw him, something about his presence made her uneasy. He looked older than Ryan, mid-50s maybe, tall, elegant. His suit alone probably cost more than most people made in a month. But it wasn't the clothes that made him frightening. It was his eyes, cold, calculating, like a man who never hesitated before destroying someone. Elena's voice came out quieter than she expected. "Who is that?" Victor leaned against the table, watching her reaction carefully. "That," he said slowly, "is the man looking for Ryan." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "That's him?" Victor nodded once. "Yes." She stared at the screen again. The man was speaking to Ryan. Ryan looked nervous, almost submissive. "Who is he?" Elena asked. Victor hesitated. Then he answered. "His name is Alexander Volkov." Elena frowned slightly. "I've never heard of him." Victor gave a small, humorless smile. "That means you've lived a safer life than most people." He tapped the tablet. "Volkov runs one of the largest criminal networks in Eastern Europe." Elena slowly sat down. "You're serious?" "Yes." She looked back at the screen. "And Ryan stole from him?" Victor's voice lowered. "Yes." Elena exhaled slowly. Her mind tried to process everything. But if Ryan stole from him, why is he still alive? Victor walked to the window before answering. "Because Volkov wants something back." Elena frowned. "What?" Victor shook his head slightly. "That's the problem. We don't know yet." Silence filled the room. Then Elena whispered the question she was afraid to ask. "What happens when Volkov finds Ryan?" Victor turned back toward her. His expression had grown darker. "You don't want the honest answer." "I do." Victor paused. Then he spoke calmly. "Ryan disappears." Elena swallowed. "And the people connected to him